Storms are a way of life in Gainesville, Florida. So storm preparation is a way of life at Gainesville Regional Utilities.
We do this on a daily basis. Restoring power is not something we do one time a year. It's just the size of the event changes and the amount of customers change.
GRU's line workers are on the front lines of storm restoration. But did you know that each one of our more than 850 employees plays a critical role in storm response? In fact, every employee is assigned what we call a gray sky role. These special storm-related assignments range from assessing damage to arranging meals. Thanks to this pre-planning, GRU helped restore power faster than any other utility in the state during Hurricane Irma. And we continue working every day to further improve our response.
This utility has a workforce that is completely dedicated to the restoration of their utilities. It's also our top priority to ensure that not only our employees, but also our customers are safe.
So what happens when a major storm is on our radar?
When a storm is within a 5-day cone of the eastern United States, we'll start monitoring and sending out updates, even if the cone is not directly aimed towards the Gainesville area, because as we've seen in the past, storms can change paths.
Once it's determined based on weather forecasts that we may expect to have some impact in our area, that's when we start to have conversations from a planning perspective about how much involvement may be needed for the utility.
At this point, the general manager or incident commander may decide to activate the Incident Command Post, a hub where GRU can communicate with other city and county agencies.
And ensure that we have a centralized area to continue monitoring the track of the storm, as well as our response efforts.
By the time the storm is between 48 and 72 hours out, the entire utility has ramped up preparations.
We start ordering extra chemicals, making sure we've got additional fuel. We start to staff up. We double our operator staffing to make sure if something's happening in the plant, we can adequately respond.
By this point, the utility has developed an internal plan for its first responders and made arrangements for mutual aid crews with partnering utilities and contractors.
You have to kind of pre-stage and pre-order your mutual aid ahead of time, where 5 or 6 years ago we depended on after the storm to see the damage in town before we ordered mutual aid. Now the game's changed. We're trying to get ahead of the curve.
During Hurricane Irma, Gainesville received mutual aid from partners in 9 states. Last year, we returned the favor to Florida's Panhandle after Hurricane Michael and South Carolina after Hurricane Florence. Still about 48 hours out, our system control room, the nerve center during a storm, has made precautionary staffing arrangements.
So we need to arrange our people, how they're going to be coming to work, how they're going to be resting, food, and all the logistics.
By the time the storm is 24 hours out, the utility is fully prepared to respond.
We've got everything buckled down, the people in place to do the storm restoration, and then we're waiting on the storm.
We know the crash is going to happen. We don't know how big it's going to be.
The anticipation coming up to that point, it builds and it builds. And if we get brushed, it's a relief. But if we don't, we go to work.
The restoration process begins only after the incident commander determines conditions are safe. GRU will not put workers in bucket trucks when high winds pose a threat to employee safety. But even when our restoration crews are grounded, we're accompanying police and fire if they need our assistance. When conditions are safe, we begin assessing damage, and our system control room starts assigning crews based on GRU's restoration priorities.
We are letting our dispatchers and operators do what they do, and they need to focus on the radio, they need to focus on how many people are going to be restoring, and they also need to focus on the safety of our crews outside.
The first step in the restoration process is to get all GRU facilities back up and running.
After we restored all our critical infrastructure, then we're going to be jumping to the critical customers, police stations, hospitals, TV stations. After that, we're going to be looking into the biggest circuits, the circuits with the biggest number of customers that we can restore within the quickest amount of time possible.
The final step is to restore individual customers.
And that takes time. Sometimes devastation is big and it takes more time to repair it than somebody else.
Some storms take a lot of power out. In that case, we're running around generators. We have 172 pumping stations that bring wastewater to our treatment plant. There's a lot of water that's associated with it. Rather than running generators around at different stations, we are taking big trucks and pumping out flooded areas, including our lift stations or our collection system.
Hurricane Irma brought both power outages and flooding. The storm left more than 96,000 customers without power and drenched Gainesville with about 12 inches of rain. GRU restored power to 86% of those customers within the first 48 hours and never stopped delivering safe water to the community.
We need to take every storm seriously in the state of Florida. If it looks like a category 1 or 2, it can be a 5 before it hits you. That's what we found out with Hurricane Michael.
We are not done until the last customer is back on. Feel the pain of every single person that is without power. Think of somebody's mother, somebody's child that is there in the dark. And we are here to help it.